Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
We just, I wanted to ask if you can give us some details on your previous life as a Christian and what made you think about Islam and when you thought about it.
It's a good question. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I was a member of the church, and my father was the head of a church, what we call a minister, as a Protestant Christian. And I wasn't particularly interested in changing my religion. Because of this, I often say Islam found me, not I found Islam. I was in college and taking classes in political science, and I realized that these courses were the courses that I was taking about the history and the politics of the Middle East were lacking in any information about the role of Islam. And whether or not you are a Muslim, you cannot deny that Islam has a large role to play in the history and the politics of the Middle East. And so simply because I wanted to understand and I wanted to get a deeper view of the area, I decided to study Islam and to find out through studying Islam what may motivate the history and the politics of the Middle East. So I went to the library and I borrowed a copy of the Quran in English, a translation. So it was a very bad translation. It was a translation written by a missionary who had the intention of making Islam look bad through his translation of the Quran. So I returned it to the library a long time ago. This was 1979, and at that time we didn't have internet. Technology was very basic, and so when you took out a book and you returned it, they had a little card that goes in the back of the book and they had to stamp it. And so when I returned the Quran to the librarian, she said, "Oh, the Quran." Big smile. "What did you think of it?" And I said, "It's a horrible book. I don't know why anybody would be a Muslim." And she said, "Wait a minute, let me see it." And she said, "Did you know this was written by an Anglican missionary who wanted to make Islam look bad?" And I said, "Well, of course, I did not know that." She said, and she reached underneath the desk and she pulled it out and she said, "Here, take my copy." Subhanallah, I just happened to come upon the only librarian in the college who was an American Muslim.
Wow.
Yes. So that was the beginning of my road to Islam. She gave me a copy of Abdullah Yusuf Ali translations, and it was a completely different book, a completely different experience. And it shook me. It really shook me to my roots. As I said, I was not looking for another religion. I was happy in my faith. But I had seen in the Quran real truth. And so I decided to study more about Islam, and that would reinforce me, I was sure, in my Christian belief. And it did the opposite. The more I read about the Prophet ﷺ, and the more I read about the lives of the Sahaba and the way Islam is supposed to be, the more I realized it was truly from God. And I decided to become a Muslim, which is another problem. In 1979, the da'wah was not very prominent in America. It was a very big test for me to find out how to become a Muslim, because I had no idea. So basically, I found that there was a prayer. Eventually, after some time, I found there was a prayer room in the college, and I went there and I found an older gentleman, probably in his 40s, with a gray beard, and I asked him how to become a Muslim, and he said, "Let's go to the library." He sat with me for 2 hours and showed me how to take the Shahada, how to say it in Arabic, and he gave me the basics of prayer, and that was the beginning of my my very long journey.
MashaAllah.